Honorary Aldermen, Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of Surrey Heath.
Good evening, members. I would like to welcome members and aldermen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, including those joining us virtually, to the annual meeting of the Council and the Mayor Making. I would like to invite Reverend Dan Stork-Banks to lead us in prayer.
Thank you. Let us pray. Gracious, loving and heavenly Father, we thank you for this great gift of democracy and for all those representatives here. We pray that you will anoint this meeting with your Holy Spirit and guard it with your angels, that the future might be bright, full of freedom and hope. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Dan. Members, please be seated. Before we move to the agenda in front of you, having taken advice from the officers and taken into account COVID considerations, I move that Council Procedure Rule 21.2, requirement to stand, be suspended for this meeting. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am happy to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you. Before we move to the election of the new mayor, as we were unable to have members in the chamber at the last annual meeting, I would like to take this opportunity to present the 47th Mayor of Surrey Heath, Councillor Robin Perry, and his Mayoress Jill Boxall, with the past Mayor and past Mayoresses badges. Robin, can you please come forward to accept your badge?
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Robin. Can I invite Mrs. Jill Boxall to come up to the stage? Thank you. Can I have nominations for the position of Mayor for the ensuing year?
Be me, I believe.
Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Deach.
I'd like to reserve my right to speak, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Rise.
I'd like happy to second the nomination of Councillor Sarah Jane Croak for the position of Mayor, and I reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Members, are there any other nominations? No? Councillor Deach, would you like to speak to your nomination?
I would, thank you. Madam Mayor, Aldermen, Councillors and ladies and gentlemen, it is my honour to propose Councillor Sarah Jane Croak as the 49th Mayor of the Borough of Surrey Heath. In fact, I have had this honour on a number of occasions with some very successful past mayors, and I'm confident Sarah Jane will be just as successful. Sarah Jane and I have known each other for a short time before she became a councillor. She reminded me the other day that it was me that had persuaded her to become a councillor. We met at a Marie Curie fundraising event. She was involved in event organising team, and I was there because there was cake involved. She asked me lots of questions about my role as a councillor, what I enjoyed and anything she ought to be aware of. I must have made an impression because shortly afterwards she joined the Surrey Heath Conservative Association and sought selection to stand for one of the borough seats in her beloved Frimley. Sarah Jane was elected in 2019 and is a much liked and respected member of the council, not just by members of her own political group, but with the opposition councillors and officers alike. I really do think that it is Sarah Jane's natural ability to be loved by everyone she comes into contact with is why she is such a successful councillor for the residents she represents in Frimley. And as mayor, all our residents will get to enjoy that. The shared experience we have all gone through as a community with COVID has been extraordinary. And while I know we can't all wait for things to go back to normal, I want to reflect on a time during the height of the first lockdown when councillors of all political persuasions and none worked together on Surrey Heath Prepared. Sarah Jane was the area coordinator for Frimley. She recruited a large team of volunteers and made sure that they had everything they needed in order that any residents who needed help in Frimley got it without any delay. Her team delivered food parcels, picked up and delivered prescriptions, did shopping for shielding vulnerable residents, and made welfare calls to the digitally excluded and the lonely. One of the many, and to my mind, most memorable human interest stories to come out of Surrey Heath Prepared involved Sarah Jane. An elderly resident had taken a fall and was admitted to Frimley Park Hospital. Her family were abroad in Germany, and because the staff at the hospital were so busy, they were unable to make contact with their beloved mother. Sarah Jane took delivery of a prepaid phone from the family, charged it, set it up, and took it to Frimley Park and ensured it made its way onto the ward so that the family could talk to their beloved mother. How wonderful is that? Anyone who knows Sarah Jane will probably not be too surprised by that. It is what she does. In fact, during Surrey Heath Prepared, she took the time to call me every day to check I was okay, as she knew the pressure was getting to me and I was struggling with it all. For Frimley, and out of Sarah Jane's work with Surrey Heath Prepared, she decided to continue supporting the community as she recognised that some residents still need support. That continues to this day in the name of Frimley Community Matters. This group of volunteers that she leads helps the community in whatever way is needed, from doing shopping, prescription pickups, dog walking, putting bins out, delivering food parcels, and even planting flowers in Frimley High Street to cheer everyone up. Here are a few notable things that you might not know about Sarah Jane. She loves the arts and started out as a redcoat at Butlins. Sarah Jane also worked alongside Andrew Lloyd Webber on the hit show Cats. She has an award-winning wedding and events company, and Sarah Jane is one of the founding members of the Frimley Business Association. It was this that brought her into close contact with the council and sparked an interest in serving the community. Any councillor in this chamber will recognise that our work is not possible without the support of our families and those close to us. I know Sarah Jane considers her 3 children among her most significant achievements. Many of us always enjoy seeing Kobe make the odd guest appearance on Sarah Jane's Zoom calls. And I'm sure with James as her consort, they will both make an incredible impression on the residents of our borough and on behalf of this council. Sarah Jane always has time for others, so she is ideally suited to the role of first citizen of Surrey Heath. Plus her hair matches the mayoral robes perfectly. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to pay tribute to Councillor Pat Tedder, who under challenging circumstances has fulfilled her mayoral duties with honour and has done us all proud. I know residents that I represent appreciate your efforts, so thank you for that, Pat, on their behalf. I do hope you will get another go at the end of this council term. I trust members will support my proposal to elect Sarah Jane Croke as the 49th Mayor of Surrey Heath. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deach. Councillor Rise, as seconder, would you like to speak to your nomination?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would. Like Councillor Deach, I've known Councillor Croke for a very short period of time after the 2019 election. And what brought us together was a simple matter of raising the pride flag at Surrey Heath House. We were both asked by residents in our borough to see if we can get this done. And Sarah's initial response was absolutely, why not? So together, we worked to get that done, and it showed her commitment to residents and also her commitment to equality, which I'm sure she will bring that to her period as mayor. I'd like to associate myself with the comments by Councillor Deach in saying that Sarah is very well liked by all. I certainly know many of my own members of my own party that like Sarah more than they like myself. So as the representative for Frimley, she is an incredible representative and a real community champion. And I couldn't be more proud of her becoming mayor after only 2 years of serving in this council. And I'm certain that as she goes forward in her mayoral year, she will bring a level of style and grace to the office that we all know can be done. And I would also like to associate myself with Councillor Deach's comments regarding you, Madam Mayor. In a very difficult time, you have proved to be an example for us all, and I would like to congratulate you on your mayoral year as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, Councillor Sarah Jane Croke has been nominated as mayor for the ensuing year. There being no other nominations, I declare Councillor Sarah Jane Croke elected as mayor for the borough of Surrey Heath for the ensuing year. Can I ask the Chief Executive to invite the new mayor to make the declaration of acceptance of office?
Do you want to sign it and then we can stand?
I, Sarah Jane Croke, having been elected to the office of Mayor of the Borough of Surrey Heath, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
This declaration is made and subscribed before me, Damien Roberts, as the council's proper officer. Members, honorary aldermen and honoured guests, please be upstanding for the new mayor.
Bear with, I just need to get my speech, which is on that table. No, I've got this one. No, it's this one. I'm very honoured to accept the office of Surrey Heath's 49th Mayor. Honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, councillors, officers, members of the public watching at home, and to my family and friends. Please be seated. I am so proud and honoured to stand here before you tonight as the elected Mayor for the Borough of Surrey Heath for the ensuing year. You, my fellow councillors, have given me a great privilege and responsibility, and I express my sincere appreciation to all of you for placing your trust in me. I would especially like to thank Councillor Paul Deach and Councillor Morgan Rice for their kind words and their continued support. I never thought in a million years I'd be standing here in front of you all as a councillor, let alone a mayor. From sitting in a Frimley Business Association meeting, talking about our high street and wondering what a local councillor could do, to then meeting Councillor Paul Deach to discuss his role and thoughts of being a councillor. I decided to then make it my mission to be a voice for our local businesses and community. And here I am. I came into the role of councillor to do my best and to be able to help where I can. And without the support of the residents that voted for me, this would not have happened. So I thank you all. I take this responsibility and the trust you have shown very seriously. I commit to serving the people of Surrey Heath to the best of my abilities with enthusiasm, compassion, and devotion, and offer my full support to our mayoral team. I look forward to this coming year, meeting and greeting those from our local community, and will hopefully be attending events, functions in the borough as things start to resume some kind of normality. I would like to thank my husband, James, for standing beside me as my consort and for his continued love and support, letting me be me and following my dreams, as I could not have done this without him. To my amazing children, Ellie, Emerald, and Kobe, for their encouragement and support to keep going. To my mum-in-law, Christina, for her love and continued support. And lastly, to my friends and residents that have been behind me all the way, keeping me motivated and in the real world. Over the last year, I've been privileged to be Councillor Pat Tedder's Deputy Mayor, and what a year it has been. Who would have thought we would have had to go through the toughest year ever? Due to COVID-19, neither of us have been able to attend many events, but I wanted to say a massive thank you to you, Pat, and to your consort, Elizabeth, for the amazing way you have fulfilled the role. Surrey Heath as a borough came together and became a stronger community through COVID. And I have seen this firsthand in my own ward of Frimley during the lockdowns, when I was privileged to play my part in Surrey Heath Prepared. The volunteers that stood with me to help look after Frimley stepped up above and beyond any expectations I could have had. And I'd like to thank them personally and all of Surrey Heath Prepared volunteers from the bottom of my heart. I look forward to this extra special mayoral year where I want to reach out and be able to share our thanks as a council and to celebrate the best of our community and our public services, and also to help raise funds for some amazing charities. Thank you. I'd like to ask my consort, Mr. James Croke, to come to the front of the stage so that I can invest him with the badge of office.
You may return.
I'd like to move a vote of thanks to Councillor Pat Tedder for all her efforts during the mayoral year. So thank you very much, Pat, and your escort. Members, please join me in thanking Pat and Libby for the past year. I would like to present Pat with the past mayor's badge of office. Thank you. Pat, on behalf of your escort, Libby, who could not join us this evening, I've obviously passed on the badge for her. On behalf of the council, I would like to present you, Pat, with a gift. You can tell I'm new to this and I do apologise. Just don't drop it. We have got more. She's not going to be able to carry it. Right, and this is your photo album. Mayoral yearbook as well.
Very slim.
Very slim. And we have also some flowers, which I'll bring down. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I do apologise, it's trying to get it all to work smoothly. I now invite Pat to say a few words about her mayoral year.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me be one of the first to welcome and congratulate you on becoming the 49th Mayor of Surrey Heath, and I wish you a busy and successful year. Now is the time for me to tell you about my year in office. So I hope Eddie hasn't got his finger on the 3-minute speaking button. What a strange year this has been. When I took office in May 2020, who would have thought that a year later, we would all be wearing masks in the street and going into banks wearing masks, asking for money. I'm frequently asked, am I disappointed that I could do so little in my year of office? Of course I am, but let's flip that one on its head. I have been lucky. There are many in the borough who have lost friends and relations to COVID. This brings it into perspective. I'd like to mention the NHS, all the volunteers, the local businesses, councillors, the staff and officers of this council and the local churches who came together and worked tirelessly to assist the vulnerable and less fortunate than ourselves during the pandemic. To all of you, I'd like to say a big thank you. I'd also like to say a special thank you to Reverend Dan, who's given me support and food for thought during this past year. Dan and his wife and family came to the parish of Chobham and Valley End in November 2019. So he was rather thrown in the deep end. Dan and I planned to remember the fallen on Armistice Sunday 2020. As you know, church services were banned. Just him and I at the War Memorial in Sleepy Valley End to lay a wreath on behalf of the borough. Oh, and then along came the British Legion. Oh, and a young army officer. Oh, and a couple of passing cyclists. And suddenly, many passers-by. It was so humbling to see that during all these uncertain and frightening times, people still wanted to come and remember the fallen of 2 world wars and other conflicts. It was different, to say the least, to see Dan preach the 2020 church service. Christmas Day, we're at the churchyard in Valley End with the vicar wearing green wellies, a woolly hat and an overcoat. And with that, he proceeded to Holy Communion. No singing allowed. That was quite a spectacle. Or whilst standing outside the local barbers with my escort in Windlesham, waiting to turn on the Christmas tree lights in the rain, on an empty street, a bleak sun corner, the only spectators were 2 elderly ladies in a bus shelter, sheltering out of the rain. A passing wag brightened the day by commenting, "I didn't know I was that important. The mayor's come to see me get my hair cut." It brought a smile. On a more serious note of being mayor, I would like to thank Eddie, Rachel, Tim Passion, Richard Payne, Damien Roberts, our new CEO, for all the help and support. And a special thank you to Maria, for whose help was absolutely invaluable. Do I have any regrets? Yes, of course I do. I couldn't have a civic service, nor have I been able to raise as much money as I'd hoped for my chosen charities. But thanks to the generosity of spirit of our new mayor, Sarah Jane, and another councillor, I am able to have one more fundraising event within the next few months. So hopefully the coffers will grow. So thank you all of those who supported me in my fundraising events. As some of you are aware, my charities were to support the deaf and homeless. Both situations leads to isolation in different ways. So whilst I was mayor, I asked that anything verbal that I was sent out in my name should have subtitles. I hope that the new mayor will continue and support this initiative and continue with subtitles so that the many residents who have hearing problems can join in by actually seeing the words. Let us make Surrey Heath the flagship for supporting the deaf and embracing them into our community. COVID gave me the opportunity to witness firsthand what a wonderful borough we live in. It also enabled me to visit many of our shops to say thank you. So being mayor in these uncertain times was humbling, and I feel very proud and honoured to have served the borough during these dark days. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pat Tedder. I would like to ask the Reverend Canon Stuart Thomas from St. Peter's and St. Francis Church to come to the dais, please. Canon Thomas has kindly agreed to be my chaplain throughout my mayoral year, and I'd like to present him with the chaplain's badge. Item 2, to appoint the Deputy Mayor for the ensuing year. Can I now have proposers for nominations for the Deputy Mayor? Councillor Malvardiman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to propose Councillor Helen Whitcroft for the post of Deputy Mayor and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second that and I reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to propose Councillor Pat Tedder to the role of Deputy Mayor and reserve my right to speak upon the nomination.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to second the proposal for Pat Tedder to be Deputy Mayor and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Malvagnam, would you like to say a few words on your nomination of Councillor Whitcroft?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I start my introduction, may I congratulate you on your appointment to the post of mayor. Now I'd like to move on to my introduction to your co-star for the coming year. I'm pleased to propose Helen Whitcroft to the post of Deputy Mayor to our great borough. I came to know Helen in 2016. I found her to be a generous person who truly understood our borough's needs. Helen hails from a local family who have been involved in community work for decades. She knows our community and the entire borough extremely well. She is keen on a number of local charities and is always trying to help them. Helen will, I believe, make an excellent deputy mayor and then in her turn, a mayor of the borough. I know Helen's husband, Campbell, and her daughter, Maddie, along with her two sons, will be great support to her during her time as deputy mayor. Finally, I want to wish both of you a great success in the coming year, serving our borough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Malvagnam. Would the seconder, Councillor Garrett, now like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members, aldermen, guests, I have the honour of seconding the proposal for Helen Whitcroft, Councillor Helen Whitcroft, as Deputy of Surrey Heath. Helen's asked me to be brief, as she wanted me to understand this is about the mayor making. Helen is a Surrey Heath lady, born and bred, born in Frimley Park Hospital. She's lived here her entire life in the borough of Frimley and Frimley Green. Helen worked as a legal secretary for many years and now runs her own business in cosmetics and skincare. You may even be able to acquire from some free samples. Helen comes from a family where politics is in the blood, both in the previous and next generations. Helen was heavily involved in local politics in an official capacity for 28 years and only retired from the position last October. As she puts it, far too long. Regarding the next generation, Helen is of course proud of her three children, Adam, 24, Josh, 22, and Madison, who is 15. She is also very proud of her grandson, Charlie, 3, who she describes as an absolute sparkle in her life. A typical grandmother, she says it is not possible to understand the passion and feeling of being a parent, but becoming a grandparent is indescribable. Helen doesn't share her personal life widely, so many people won't know that she is in the process of building a large Victorian doll's house and enjoys reading what she calls fictional rubbish. She loves to walk her dogs and can frequently be heard hollering for them to return from their adventures. Her best friend describes her as a kind, community-minded and always ready to put other people first. Based on this, it was perhaps inevitable she would one day stand for office, becoming a borough councillor in 2019. Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to second Councillor Helen Whitcroft's nomination for Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Garrett. Councillor Wheeler, would you like to say a few words on your nomination for Councillor Tedder?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would, and I would like to second the congratulations to you for becoming mayor as well. Before I talk to my nomination, I would like to clearly state that I, and I believe the rest of my group, fully support Helen Whitcroft's role as both Deputy Mayor and one assumes Mayor next year. I have discussed with Helen our reasons for the nomination, and I have found her to be both empathetic and understanding to those reasons. Helen, in no way is this nomination a criticism of you. I would like to nominate Pat Tedder as Deputy Mayor with the informal understanding that she will express her decision to retire from office in December, and that there will be a Deputy Mayoral vote in the meeting of the 15th of December, with Pat formally stepping down from the role on the 1st of January 2022. So, why am I making such an extraordinary nomination? Largely because this has been an extraordinary year. I would like to cut the chamber, but it's not the chamber, it's the theatre, to cast their minds back to the last time that I nominated Pat as Deputy Mayor in May 2019. At that time, despite support from the Liberal Democrats, her nomination was not carried. This meant that she didn't get to enjoy a deputy mayoral year. Pat's nomination as mayor was carried this time last year, nominated because, and I will quote from the reason for nomination, she stands as the embodiment of what we should all be when we stand as councillors. This nomination was seconded by Councillor Mansfield, as that she was the embodiment of the member of the community that she was elected to serve. The mayor making last year had Pat take office in an almost empty chamber, with none of us there to see it. In fact, I believe that tonight is the first time that Pat has walked through fellow councillors in her mayoral robes. Pat's loved ones presumably watched on a screen, and the rest of us all watched at home. And this set the course for the remainder of the year. When I discussed with Pat earlier this week that it seemed likely that her role of deputy mayor would be unlikely to receive sufficient numbers of votes to be carried, she was typically stoical in her response. At least, she said, we are all here still to argue about it. And that attitude underpins my reason for nominating Pat. This is not about chain waving. It is not about who gets to be mayor in an election year. It is about the fact that one of the most deserving mayors, nominated for all of the right reasons, who has spent well over 20 years serving her community, turned the Christmas tree lights on in the village that she was born in and the village that she has lived in, essentially alone last year. She has not had the opportunity to get out or to support the charities in the same way that she hoped to. And neither has the communities that she has served so unwavering had the opportunity to see and to thank her. If any single one of us here this evening has a glimmer of empathy, an awareness of spirit and integrity, you will support my nomination for Pat for this period. If it was me nominated against Pat, referring back to Councillor Deitch's reference earlier this evening to honour, I would withdraw my nomination. I would acknowledge the person and that the right thing to do should outweigh the political jostling that has gone on behind the scenes. But that's me, and that's why I sleep well at night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Would the seconder, Councillor Hawkins, now like to say a few words?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Honorary Alderman, members of the public. Like Councillor Wheeler, I have to stress that this is not a stance against Helen. And I know Helen, I've met her and I've met her husband, and they're very nice. And I actually, I would even say that I know Helen's parents, and I think I get on with her father. I'm not quite sure. I'll leave Helen to advise on that in a different space. I consider it an honour to second Pat for the role of Deputy Mayor. In the last year, she has carried out her duties with dignity, and I believe that she should have the chance to do what mayors take for granted in normal times. And I think that the proposition that's been put forward by Councillor Wheeler is different, but there again, so are the times that we live in. On a very personal note, I've known Pat for many years. She is a hard-working and committed councillor, an advocate. She all advocate for what she believes in. As a member of the Planning Applications Committee, she, along with, I think I described her as her twin sister. Now, those of us who know Pat know who I mean by her twin sister. They could be relied on to attend every site meeting, irrespective of the weather conditions. Furthermore, she had no problem in making sure that we all knew her views, whether we agreed with them, but we knew them for sure. Members, I really ask, it's a different situation, it's different times, but I ask that you give Pat your support for the role of Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hawkins. Members, councillors, Councillor Helen Whitcroft and Councillor Pat Tedder have been nominated as Deputy Mayor for the ensuing year. We now need to vote on these nominations. All those in favour for Councillor Helen Whitcroft, raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favour of Councillor Pat Tedder, raise your hand. Yeah.
Members, Councillor Whitcroft, 16. Councillor Pat Tedder, 13. Sorry, Councillor Helen Whitcroft is due.
Okay. Sorry. I'm delighted to declare Councillor Helen Whitcroft, Deputy Mayor of the Borough of Surrey Heath for the ensuing year, and invite her to come up to the stage and make the declaration.
I, Councillor Helen Whitcroft, declare that I take office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. This declaration is made and subscribed before me, Damien Roberts, as the council's proper officer.
Thank you, Damien. I now invest Councillor Helen Whitcroft as my Deputy Mayor and welcome her to the role.
Members, aldermen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, before I start, I'd like to congratulate Sarah Jane on her appointment as mayor and had an amazing year together. I'd like to say thank you to Councillor Mel Vagonham and to Councillor Garrett for your kind words. I would now like to approach my husband, Mr. Campbell Elder, and ask him if he could approach the dais so that the Mayor can invest him as a Deputy Mayor's Consort.
So moving on to item 3, report of the returning officer. I would like to invite the returning officer to introduce his report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The election of a councillor for the Bagshot ward of the Borough of Surrey Heath took place on the 6th of May 2021, and Mark David Gordon was duly elected. The results of the election are as set out in your agendas. Congratulations, Councillor Gordon.
Item 4, apologies for absence. Mr. Payne, may I please have the apologies for absence?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've received apologies from Councillor Peter Barnett, Councillor Vivian Chapman, Councillor Ben Leach, and Councillor David Lewis.
Item 5, minutes. I propose that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of April 2021 be approved as a correct record. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you, members. The minutes are approved. They will be in a moment. Item 6, declarations of interest. Agenda item 6, declarations of interest. Do any members have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest to declare in relation to the matters which we are to be considered in this meeting? No? Bless you. Item 7, Mayor's announcement. I'm delighted to announce my charities for the mayoral year. So my first charity is going to be Crossroads Care Surrey, which is Surrey's leading charity providing respite breaks for carers. In 2019 alone, they helped over 2,000 unpaid carers by regularly lending a hand with care to loved ones, so people who care can have a break and recharge both physically and emotionally. Currently, we have 709 clients in Surrey and 772 waiting. I would like to thank Peter Butterworth, who is their charity fundraising manager, for coming along tonight. I look forward to working with you and Crossroads. I know from a personal level, having to care for my mum when I was younger, how valuable it is to be able to have time to recharge mentally so you can carry on. My second charity is the NSPCC. which is the UK's leading children's charity, who have been looking out for children for over 130 years, preventing abuse and helping those affected to recover. Those of you that know me well will understand how close this charity is to me. I lost my dad when I was 4. He was a lifeguard. He worked at Whitley Bay Beach, and he organised a sponsored swim for the NSPCC, but he unfortunately did not make it back due to a strong undercurrent on the day. But he managed to raise over 20,000 for them, which I am stood here before you tonight and feel extremely proud. And my third charity is Emerge. Emerge are a youth work charity who support young people aged 10 to 25 years old who attend the Royal Surrey County Hospital, Medway, new to Frimley Park Hospital. They help children who are admitted to A&E with self-harm and suicidal thoughts and attempted suicide. Thank you. Councillors, honorary aldermen, honorary guests, officers and members of the public, I now move on to announcement the retirement of Mrs. Jenny Rickard. Jenny is the council's executive head of regulatory, but she has worked in local government for just over 42 years, dedicating her whole career to serving the community. She joined Surrey Heath from Wokingham District Council in November 1987 and has worked for the council for more than 33 years. She worked in planning policy for many years and became the planning policy manager in 2005. She's taken a lead role in the adoption of a number of critical planning policies, including the local plan and the town centre master plan. But there are many, many more. Her career continued to develop, and in November 2012, she became the executive head of regulatory, joining the corporate management team and expanding her role with the management of the council's development control, planning policy, technical support, drainage, building control, housing, and family support services. Jenny has been instrumental in ensuring the delivery of a number of projects for the council, including securing funding from the local enterprise partnership, EM3 LEP, for the Meadows Roundabout Gyratory and the Public Realm Works in Camberley Town Centre, as well as setting up new family support services here at Surrey Heath, which prevents homelessness and helping families right across the borough. She has acted as the council's advisor on planning matters for many years and is a regular guest at parish council meetings, public forum events in community centres and development sites, as well as offering to meet residents on an individual basis to ensure any challenges can be overcome. Jenny is a very well-respected officer and has been an outstanding ambassador for the council. On behalf of the council, I'd like to wish Jenny a long and happy retirement and ask that you join me in showing your appreciation for all that she has achieved for Surrey Heath. Thank you, Jenny. Item 8, executive arrangements. I now invite the leader to announce how he intends to exercise his executive functions for the coming year in relation to the appointment of a deputy leader, the portfolio holders and their areas of responsibility, and in 2, the nature and extent of any delegation of executive functions to the executive collectively, individual executive members or officers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Members, in accordance with the strong leader arrangements adopted by this council in 2011, I advise you on how I intend to exercise the council's executive functions for the coming year. I intend to exercise decisions collectively through the executive, and the scheme of delegation to officers in respect of executive functions remains unchanged as it is set out in the Constitution. The appointment of portfolio holders is as follows: Business and Transformation, Councillor Colin Duggan; Environment and Health, Councillor David Mansfield; Finance, Councillor Robin Perry; Places and Strategy, Councillor Rebecca Jennings-Evans; Planning and People, Councillor Adrian Page; Support and Safeguarding, Councillor Sean Garrett. Their areas of responsibility are as set out in the Constitution, and I appoint Councillor Colin Duggan as Deputy Leader. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Item 9, establishment of committees and review of the political proportionality. I propose that the committees of the council be appointed, the number of members per committee be agreed, and that the scheme of proportionality be adopted as set out in the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I second that proposal.
Members, are there any other proposals? Okay. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Yeah. Yeah, motion carried. Item 10, appointment of members to committees. I propose, having regard to the nominations of the political groups, that the membership of the committees of the council be circulated. Where appointments are still to be confirmed, I proposed that this is delegated to the Chief Executive in consultation with the relevant group leaders. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you, members. Item 11, appointment of chairman and vice chairman. The nominations which have been received for the positions of chairman and vice chairman are as circulated. Are there any additional nominations to these tabled? Councillor Malvagnam.
Madam Mayor, I would like to propose Councillor Tapper for the Vice Chairman of Planning.
Yeah. I think this is actually, you've come in too soon on that part.
Some apologies.
You confused me because it's not on my bit here, so. Okay. Members, as you will see, there is one position where there is one more nomination. I move that the chairman and vice chairman are appointed where uncontested, as circulated. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you. I declare the chairman and vice chairman appointed as circulated. Moving to the positions where there is one or more nomination. Vice Chairman of Planning Applications Committee. I invite Councillor Malvagnam to move his nomination to the position of Vice Chairman of Planning Applications Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to propose Graham Tapper, Councillor Graham Tapper for the Vice Chair of Planning Committee.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Wren.
Speak.
Thank you. So we've got, I invite Councillor Rodney Bates to move his nomination to the position of Vice Chairman of the Planning Applications Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I would like to propose Councillor Victoria Wheeler to be the Vice Chairman of the Planning Applications Committee, and I'd like to reserve my right to speak as well.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Allaway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I would like to second Councillor Wheeler as Vice Chairman of Planning and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Councillor Malvagnam, would you like to speak on your nomination of Councillor Tapper?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I've known Graham Tapper, Councillor Graham Tapper for the last 5 years now, 4 years. And he is so enthusiastic about planning. I've seen him perform, and within our group, I reach out to him, and most of us reach out to him for planning advice as to whether it's applicable or not. He is very methodical, he's very knowledgeable, and we decided not to contest for the chair because current chair is very, very good, Councillor Edward Hawkins. We thought it would be right and proper that we try and get, as this is a non-political position, we would like to get Councillor Tapper into the Vice Chair's position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malvagnam. Would the seconder, Councillor Wren, now like to say a few words? Councillor Bates, would you like to say a few words on your nomination of Councillor Wheeler?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'd like to start by just also adding my congratulations to you. I'm sure you'll have a very good year, and I look forward to your own style being brought on the mayoralty. I'm sure that we will get that. And also congratulate Helen to be Deputy Mayor as well, and I'm sure you will enjoy your year as well. And just formally, before I do that role, I also want to publicly thank Councillor Vivian Chapman because she is now stepping down as the Vice Chair of the Licensing Committee based on the decision we've just made. She's not at tonight's meeting, she's probably watching from home, but she's been an excellent Vice Chairman in that role. I know she's going on to a new role, and I just wanted to publicly thank her for that. It's been an unusual team in that for that year because we spent 20 years arguing with each other, but not over the last year in that role. And she's been exceptionally good, and I'd like to publicly thank her for that. I hope she's listening and watching. She'll probably be very surprised what I've just said. In terms of Councillor Wheeler to be Vice Chairman of the Planning Committee, I think there's 3 reasons why I would like to propose this. And the first and the most important reason is that, and it's very basic, is that she's very good at it. She's extremely knowledgeable about planning and the many complex issues that arise. And as we know, she's not afraid to challenge officers or councillors and does this in a respectful and very passionate way. And I think that's absolutely needed in a planning context where we have many areas that have to be considered without any fear or favour, and where there is a clear and obvious level of independence that is required to get to often complex and controversial decisions. Now, I do know Councillor Tapper even longer probably than Councillor Malvagnam. And I do know that he has some experience and some technical knowledge. But in my opinion, Councillor Wheeler's experience does trump it on this occasion. The second reason is the village's perspective, because we have elected Councillor Hawkins as the chairman for a further year representing an urban area. And it's my view that we need to have a councillor as vice chair from a rural area to balance that. Because often we hear concerns from people saying, what about the villages? And I think it's very important to have their perspective on areas such as planning. Things like planning density are very different, parking numbers, the neighbourhood plan, where Councillor Wheeler has extensive experience. And again, in this occasion, Councillor Tapper, and this isn't his fault, but he represents an area which is very similar to that of the chairman. And in my view, it'd be better to have a vice chairman from a different type of ward. And the final area, and this isn't the primary reason, but it's relevant, I know, through discussions over the last couple of weeks, is a more technical one. And that is a decision that we made as a council regarding the number of councillors that receive special responsibility allowances. And the maximum is 17, which is no more than half the council. And we currently have 17 posts where people receive special responsibility allowances. And the proposal is that Councillor Wheeler, who is a group leader, would actually share that role with the duty of doing this particular role to which she has considerable expertise. So as far as I'm aware, Councillor Tapper isn't the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and this has been a very recent change, and that is Councillor Marvaganam. So that would actually mean a breach of our own policy in order to do that. Having said that, that isn't the primary reason why I make my representations. It is entirely on the first two, because I do believe Councillor Wheeler is a very good candidate in this area and wishes to have the village's perspective, but nonetheless, it's important to raise that technical point. But I'm delighted to propose Councillor Wheeler to this role, and I encourage your members to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. Would the seconder, Councillor Allaway, now like to say a few words?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and of course, congratulations to you both on your appointments. I would like to second the proposal for Councillor Wheeler as the Vice Chair of Planning, due to her broad experience and knowledge of the planning system gained during her years as a Planning Committee member. Planning is a topic and a key service close to the heart of residents that must command the confidence of the public. It would be a great opportunity for this council to continue enhancing the planning process and build on the good feedback from the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Allaway. Thank you, members. We will now take a vote. All those in favour of Councillor Graham Tapper, raise your hand. Okay. All those in favour of Councillor Victoria Wheeler, raise your hand.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Graham Tapper, 8. Councillor Victoria Wheeler, 22.
I declare Councillor Wheeler as Vice Chairman of Planning Applications Committee. Congratulations. Item 12, Joint Committee. I invite the leader to advise the Council of the Conservative Group's nomination to the Surrey Police and Crime Panel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that Councillor Valerie White be appointed to the Council's member on the Surrey Police and Crime Panel for 21-22.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'm delighted to second that nomination.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you, members. Councillor Valerie White is appointed to the Surrey Police and Crime Panel. Item 13, to appoint working groups and other bodies of the Council and the membership thereof. The list of the working groups and other bodies it is proposed to establish, together with the allocation of the seats and the nominations of the political groups to those seats, has been circulated. I propose that these be agreed as circulated. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Item 14, responsibility for functions. Agenda item 15, I propose that the scheme of delegation of functions at Part 3 of the Constitution as set out at Annex A be agreed. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second that proposal.
Is that agreed, members? Thank you, members. That is agreed. Moving on to item 15, freedom of the borough. Agenda item 15, I'd like to invite Councillor Colin Dugan to present the report and move a motion in respect of this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and congratulations to you and Madam Deputy Mayor. For the last time this evening, I think, probably. I'm absolutely delighted to bring this paper to the council. Many of you will be aware that Surrey Heath Borough Council was the first council in Surrey to sign the military covenant. And ever since then, we've run a community covenant group, which basically seeks to ensure that the military community, both serving and veterans, are looked after within our community. And we were discussing in the community group in 2019 an event that we could bring before the community. And unfortunately, that fell away during COVID. But as one door closes, COVID actually opened, I believe, this particular door for us. When Deep Cut closed a number of years ago now, the biggest military unit in Surrey Heath now is the combined medical services from across the three services. And in fact, the Army's medical services regimental headquarters is in Robertson House, which most of us would know as the former staff college, just inside the front gates of the Royal Academy. The Joint Hospital Group, South East, is the contingent of soldiers and sailors and airmen that support or provide medical services alongside the civilian staff at Frimley Park Hospital. I have to say, when I first mooted the idea of offering freedom of the borough to the Joint Hospital Group, I went to see the commanding officer and was rather astonished to hear there are over 200 military personnel working at Frimley Park Hospital. But I think that having our freedom of the borough from the Joint Hospital Group will give us the potential for quite a magnificent parade. We last gave freedom of the borough to the Royal Military Academy in 2014. And if anyone who attended there or looks at the photographs would get exactly what you would expect to see: immaculate uniforms and everyone identical. We will have quite the opposite, I think, when the Joint Hospital Group parades through the streets. We will have naval uniforms, we will have army uniforms, we will have Air Force uniforms, and I hope even perhaps we might even see some scrubs on parade too. The occasion will be special anyway, but I think it will be all the more special because not only can we thank the three services for their military service, but we can thank the doctors and nurses of Frimley Park Hospital for their quite extraordinary support for the community during the pandemic. So I would like to propose a motion. It's relatively simple, but to agree the recommendations that are in the paper. One slight adjustment, amendment to little 2, where we'd need to delete the 3 words Royal Military Academy and insert Joint Hospital Group, otherwise unchanged. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dugan. Do you have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I'm absolutely delighted to second that motion.
Thank you. Do any other members wish to speak on this item? Is that agreed, members? Agreed. Yeah, brilliant. It's agreed. Item 16, questions by councillors. Agenda item 16, I am advised that no questions have been received from members of the council under Council Procedure Rule 11. Councillor Brooks.
Apologies, I did have my hand up during the item 4. Apologies for absence. It wasn't noticed. And I would like to give apologies for Charlotte Morley. She's shielding one of her daughters before her daughter has an operation. And she did give those apologies that they wasn't announced. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Has that been noted? Thank you. Okay, so going back to 16. Sorry, Councillor Brooks. I'm advised that no questions had been received from members of the council under Council Procedure Rule 11. So that concludes the business of the annual meeting of the council. Thank you, members, for attending, and thank you to any members of the public who have watched this meeting at home.